Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. I'm presenting a paper entitled Cross-Linguistic Analysis of Animal Idioms as Insults, EFL Learners' Perspectives, a study that I conducted with my colleagues at Universiti Malaysia Terengganu. My name is Chaizani and I am presenting on behalf of my colleagues, Husna Nurul Izzah Jamaluddin and Farha Alia Mohd. Animal idioms spice up language, but they often spark miscommunication across cultures, especially when used as insults. In English and in Bahasa Malaysia, these phrases reflect deep cultural values, like taboos around certain animals in Islamic contexts, leading to unintended offense in multicultural settings. Today, I'll cover the research gap, our methodology, key results, discussion, and implications for EFL teaching. The theoretical framework we're looking at is Hull's communication context model, where this model categorizes cultures based on their communication styles. We have high context cultures, such as in Malaysia, where communication is nuanced and indirect, and meaning is often embedded in shared experiences, nonverbal cues, and cultural context. So idioms can be deeply tied to local values and taboos. Whereas low context cultures, such as English, the communication is more explicit and direct, with meaning conveyed primarily through words and not hidden context as much as high context cultures. And this directness can make idioms more straightforward. However, cultural subtext still exists. In the case of idioms, they are not literal. Their meanings hide cultural metaphors. For EFL learners in Malaysia, English animal idioms like pig out or work like a dog clash with local values where pigs and dogs are taboo due to religious or cultural beliefs. Few studies compare English and Malay idioms structurally and culturally. This matters for cross-cultural communication, as Hall's high context and low context model shows meanings rely on shared assumptions and not direct translation. For methodology, we used a mixed methods design with 83 UMT students who had previously scored bands 3, 3.5 or 4 in the Malaysia University English test. And they have also taken academic writing skills at UMT. Therefore, they are well able to write. They were asked to rate 12 animals, whether as an insult or an endearment in a pretest. So in the pretest questionnaire, they had to rate these 12 animals according to their beliefs and their cultural context, what they knew, whether it's an insult or a endearment. Then they were put in groups where they were asked to research the English idioms online, such as cat got your tongue, stubborn as a mule, and so on, depending according to the animals in the list. First, they did it individually, then they discussed in groups. And stage 3, a post-test questionnaire checked the perception shifts to see whether the perceptions had changed according to the internet search. And this revealed how exposure to idioms influenced their views. This combined corpus analysis, surveys, and focus groups for a full picture. The results were very interesting. The pre-test to post-test shifts were extremely striking. There were some dramatic changes, such as monkeys. The results that flipped from 93% to endearment to 93% insult, a plus of 86% after idioms like monkey on your back were discovered by the students. And the result for cats shifted plus 45% towards insult, because originally many students responded that they thought cats were cute and pure, so they thought it would be a praise to be called a cat, but it turns out in English it's the other way around. As for reinforced positives, bees dropped to 10% insult, and puppies 31. They discovered that certain animals culturally have different connotations to compare BM, Bahasa Malaysia, and English. There were also moderate shifts where sheep is a plus 21% insult. Originally, they thought sheep were cute, and it turns out in English it's not considered a good thing. Wolf is 18%, and lambs and piglets softened slightly despite high initial offense. Piglet at 94% to 78%. Then there were stable offenses where snails didn't shift very much from 94 to 98, and snails 94 to 98, shrimp 93 to 90, and mule 87. Chameleon mildly improved. So here's a summary table from our findings. You can see the category where the change is dramatic. For example, for monkey and cat, reinforced positive for bee, and moderate for sheep and wolf, and so on. So as a discussion, exposure to idioms shows that perceptions are reshaped. This highlights the role of culture. The majority of the students surveyed were Malay or Bumiputra, and they initially saw cats or monkeys as positive. But this flipped after they had internet search, where they saw in the English context, the low context English relies less on shared cues compared to the high context Malay. And taboos also amplified offense, where pigs and dogs stayed highly insulting, despite the internet search where, and also they did see how piglets are considered to be an endearment because it was a character in Winnie the Pooh, but it did not change their minds much. They still saw it as insulting due to their cultural background. And universal negatives such as snails and shrimp still persisted across cultures. Bilingual participants showed pragmatic awareness, using polite language despite shifts, underscoring empathy's need in communication. So the conclusion from this study and the implications, we can see for EFL pedagogy, it is a good idea to simply just ditch rote memorization. It doesn't help. Instead, use contextual, story-based teaching with cross-cultural comparisons and authentic materials to build empathy. This will equip the learners, particularly English as foreign language learners in Malaysia, as well as translators and educators for diverse settings, and reduce miscommunication. So recommendations for language education is a good idea to have contextual instruction rather than just memorization. So embed idioms in narratives and real-life communication scenarios to demonstrate their use and nuance. And cross-cultural comparison also might help, where you actively compare and contrast idioms between English and the learner's native language to highlight cultural differences in symbolism and values. And lastly, foster empathy and awareness, where we can incorporate discussions about cultural sensitivities and taboos to build deeper understanding and respectful communication skills. and this is a good way to integrate the cultural context into language learning in comprehension, and it can bridge communication gaps. So that's our presentation. Thank you. We'd also like to thank all the students and staff of University of Malaysia Terengganu who helped with this study. Thank you for your time, everyone. If there are any questions, you can email me directly at chaizani@umt.edu.my. Thank you.